Now, I know we've heard it all before. That streamer's hacking. They've got to be using cheats. He's definitely got walls. But I've just spent the last 3 weeks touring around the USA with some of the best Warzone players and content creators in the world, from J-God and Huskers to Jukies and Tommy, alongside Red Bull, to discover 7 hacks that these pro players use to get the edge on their opponents. Now, I'm not talking about actual hacks or cheats, but things you can do yourself and add to your own gameplay and setup to make you a better player instantly. I saw all these players set up on completely different setups in controlled situations, from the Red Bull HQ in LA to the Mavs Gaming Hub in Dallas, and the difference in how the game felt and played before and after was night and day. Now, the first thing every controller player did as soon as they got onto their PC was overclock their controller. Now, what this does is make their controller as responsive as possible, meaning that the inputs they make happen faster in the game, which in turn gives them an edge against every player they come up against, because they can move faster, shoot faster, and do every action in the game that little bit quicker than someone without an overclocked controller. And from my own experience, the second I've done this, the game just feels so much smoother, and I feel like I've got that edge which will allow me to win those intense gunfights, as I can react to everything going on that much faster. So in order to overclock your controller, you're going to download the link that is in the description, which is called HID USB-F. You're then going to open up that file, select driver, and then go to setup. Now, when you're in setup, you will then get this window. You're going to go to the top left, select all, and you'll see your controller listed here. Now, mine is already overclocked and has the smallest input delay possible, but to make sure you've got that, you're going to click filter on device down on the bottom left-hand side. You're going to select 1000 for the fastest speed, and then you're going to install that service to that device, and you're going to have the smallest input delay. It's a big improvement, trust me, and I've loved it since I've done it. The next big thing I learned was how important it is for pro players to play at 1440p resolution instead of 1080p, as the setups that we used in New York City included 1080p monitors and not 1440. This was picked up on instantly by every single pro player, as it made it far harder to easily spot opponents on Caldera, as 1440p in comparison to 1080 really improves the quality of how the game looks. It's just one of those things that once you start playing at 1440p, 1080 will just look and feel like you're playing on a toaster and have a huge competitive disadvantage. But because they had 1080p, they could not always play as aggressively as they would like, so there's a high chance they could miss a player that was hiding inside of a window or on the crest of a hill, because the image was not as sharp, so it was a lot harder to identify the outline of a player. Now, I know a lot of us all play on different setups, from 50-inch TVs to 24-inch monitors, all varying at different resolutions and response times. But one of the biggest pro hacks is to play on a 27-inch 1440p monitor with the fastest response time and refresh rate possible, and that will allow you to play at your highest possible level. Now, don't get me wrong, just having the best setup isn't going to make you an incredible player, but all these little advantages help maximize your performance. Now, I personally play on a 27-inch Lenovo Legion 1440p 165Hz monitor, but there are tons of options out there. The next thing I noticed every pro player doing was changing their in-game HUD to bring it as close to the center of their screen as possible. To do this, all you have to do is go to your interface settings and turn the horizon and vertical bounds to 0. Now, what this means is that you do not have to move your eyes as much from the center of your screen to see key information from the HUD, with the most important being your minimap. This helps pro players keep focus on exactly what's going on in front of them, whilst being able to never miss a red dot on the minimap, where their teammates are, or something as simple as how many plates they've got on. This is especially important on larger screens, because at times, if you're playing on a 50-inch TV, it sometimes feels like you've got to move your entire head just to check your minimap. This setting stops that and will make you a better player. The next hack that every pro player takes advantage of actually comes down to their controller. On the trip, every pro player used a custom controller, whether that was a Scuff, a Battle Beaver, or an Xbox Elite Series 2. Though Huskers obviously brought along his own mouse and keyboard, and that's a big thing. The majority of top players are currently all controller players because of how powerful aim assist actually is. Though the most important part of the controllers from every pro player was the fact that they needed to make sure that they had the paddles or buttons on the back, Without them, their gameplay quality actually drops a fair amount. Now, this does also come down to muscle memory, but also having the ability to have paddles on the back of your controller so you can jump shot and slide a lot easier will help you win a lot of gunfights. The next hack was making sure that there was no input delay whatsoever. This allows you to react in the fastest time possible so you win the majority of those 50-50 gunfights. There are a number of ways that the pro players made sure that this was happening. First of all, monitor settings. They made sure that their monitors that they were playing on were set up to the fastest response times possible and also the maximum hertz rate, so they would get the most frames possible so they don't miss a single thing happening on their screen. Next, in order to create more contrast, make parts of the map pop out a little bit more, Hisoka went into his Nvidia settings and increased the saturation and hue. This not only made the game more colorful, but allowed him to spot enemies that little bit easier. Next, they made sure any capture software was uninstalled on the gaming PC. This meant no Nvidia highlights, shadow play, or anything else that would interfere with the game in any way. This not only made sure that they had the most frames possible, but also no chance of that input delay. A simple one they also did was make sure that they were always playing in full screen and started Warzone in admin mode so that the game was always a priority on the PC. Do these things and you'll instantly notice a difference in your gameplay and how it feels. Now, this next hack might be obvious, but it was not a coincidence that every pro player in these huge wager matches were using almost identical loadouts. Having a meta loadout is key for you to be able to consistently perform at the highest level, and with the new season dropping during the trip, me and J-God, the Meta King, had a blast talking through the new changes and how it could impact the meta. So in order to win the most of your gunfights, get the highest kills and win your matches, make sure you're using the weapons with the fastest TTKs and high accuracy percentages, which seem to be everyone's preferences, with the XM4 and STG being the go-to assault rifles and the Owen gun being the go-to SMG, but now that also includes the well gun. The next hack that every pro player does is taking advantage of every single movement mechanic in the game. And I had a lot of fun talking to the likes of Tommy on how to squeeze every ounce of advantage from the game's movement mechanics. First of all, movement isn't all about running on the ground, which involves jump shotting, slide cancelling, snaking, which I'll take you through in just a moment, but it's crazy in a kill race at how they use the balloons on the map. It's the best way of moving around the map and also gaining a positional advantage on their opponents by landing on the ground above them as close to the floor as possible. Now, as I mentioned, there are some key movement mechanics that you need to master to do the best that you can in Warzone that all the pro players were doing. The first one, pretty simple, slide cancelling. They run around the map completely just sliding everywhere. They don't really move like this. If you're running like this, you're doing it wrong. Slide cancel everywhere. Practice this, just the way you move, the angles that you can do it, and just kind of, it will improve your gameplay a lot. The next is the bunny hop. This is pretty simple, but just kind of as you jump to the side, you hit it again just as you're about to hit the floor, and your bunny hop makes you hard to hit, and also, most importantly, keeps that rotational aim assist, so you're going to find it a lot easier to land your shots. Next, you've kind of got the drop shot as pretty standard, just kind of going to jump and kind of like going to prone. Also, try and jump shot as much as you can whilst in a gunfight. That will also help and keep that rotational aim assist. And something that I've been trying a lot more recently is snaking. Now, what this is this kind of snaking a head glitch. So when you're doing this, it means that you get the intel of what's going in front of you, so you know when to challenge. I kind of just do a circular motion with my left thumbstick whilst I'm doing this, while switching between prone and standing, and you do it quite easily. But those are the main movement mechanics that all the pro players are using. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Subscribe for new. I hope you guys enjoyed these hacks that I learned whilst with Red Bull in the USA.